gets a chance to rebut.
All right, good. George, as you know, I sent out a poll to these fine people, asking them questions related to you. And this is the 2022 edition. I'm hoping we can do many future editions as well. And the goal of this, oops, I can make, there we go. Yes, the goal of this is to address questions that we all have about George Preston. Yeah, I actually saw this. I missed it, but I think you saw the larger version of this picture earlier. But there's George actually reading the results of no, not yet. Okay, so there are about 25 people who responded, but not everybody. If you may recall, I sent out the poll that has about 10 questions. Not everybody answered all the questions. That was fine. Then I had some very nice input from some people who couldn't make it. So I'll be referring to that too. And so you're being thought of at this moment from beyond this room quite a bit. So, and you answered some of the poll questions the other day. It was a verification sort of stage. But we also discovered in that process that George was lying about some of the answers. So we'll get to that in a minute too. All right, so let me just go through the list, not quite in the order of the poll, but close to it. And the first one was just to ask about George's most influential paper. We're talking here about George's career, talking about George as George, and but we're here as scientists to talk about these subjects, and so there were a number of votes here, but ultimately George, this party of people here felt that your thesis paper was the most influential paper.
Ever since.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, you peaked very early, and I don't know what's happened since. No, you'll see, it's not quite that bad. But that was 1959. I was born that year, so it puts us all in perspective. So, second were your papers on the metal poor stars that we've heard about today. Also, this review, the 1964, you remember that one? Or just, I think, titled The R.R. Lyrie Stars, very simple title. And a few others that got a vote or so per person or per paper. In terms of citations, I looked that up, and in fact, it's the BMP papers that, BSP. So as a BSP. Sorry about that. I was thinking of blue metal poor or something. But anyway, and then the R. Lyrie paper that you did around that time too. So about 500, 400 references for those papers. So I came across, we got one testimonial from somebody who couldn't make it, Joanna Jurczyk, probably not pronouncing it quite right. But I thought this was great because at the time that she was starting to work on these stars, she's being told by her advisors at the time, Laszlo Detre and Bella Seidel, that she should always check what George Preston wrote. And I think Gerge, Joanna was your undergraduate advisor, yeah. So we have a connection here. And she pointed out at the end here that she had a dossier, a file, just entitled Preston. It was the fattest one, one she referred to a lot. So in that sense, a very influential paper for her and many others, I'm sure. Now, I did have a chance to look at your review again, and it's been a while since I've looked, I mean, probably since grad school. But what amazes me looking back at it is that everything we're doing now is in there in some form. Galactic structure, distance scale, atmospheric phenomena, all this stuff that we've been talking about related to RL-IRAs. It was really was a blueprint of what followed in this field. And so fantastic reference. So I view this, because I'm sure as a review paper, it really was the first introduction to a lot of people. And maybe then they went to your Delta S paper and other papers, but this one really probably got a lot of people going in the field and thinking about things just beyond these weird stars that, as Chris said the other day, go up and down and change brightness. They're more interesting than that. So next question had to do with interactions with us individually. So how long have you known George? What fraction of your life? Well, George has known himself for now almost 92 years, for 100%. So you're on that. But the range was from a number of you have just met. In fact, how many of you have just met George on this trip for the first time? I find that amazing, Alistair, especially, but everybody else, but 0 to 57 years. And the average fraction that people have known of their lives is about 50% of their lives. So George, you've been like, you know, an aromatic event that sticks with people for a long time. We can't get rid of you, and I'm so happy about that. Okay, so this one is I'm not even gonna try to say one of your stories. No way. I'm not gonna go there. But I thought it was worthwhile to at least sort of list a few cases of the kinds of topics that end up in your stories. And these are all the ones that I think are not suitable for a meeting type story. So some ones that are relatively clean. So anyway, there's this one which I don't know that I've ever heard, and that's a Struve, cigar, and defeated. So the idea here is I ask people to give me 3 phrases or words from these stories that sort of remind them of the story. But people also send me punchlines, so I'll have a little bit of a mix. Now this one, I think a lot of us know. Coffee breaks over. Back on your heads. Let's go. The Soprano stinks. That's a pretty good one. And then this one, I'm not sure. This wasn't a story. This was actually a couple of these things are actually just events that you actually did. And I don't know if you remember this one, the macho combo sandwich. Oh, yeah. And the ice cream bet. And after you did this, which you probably got sick from eating 2 of these, because that's what the waiter said, no way you can eat 2 of these. He made a bet for ice cream. Yeah. He said, a catchphrase, like taking candy from a baby. So this is Abby was telling me about this one, a 75-foot printout trash. You remember that, right? A 75-foot printout on the floor of a Spectrum.
Oh, that's art.
Well, no, you did it with Abby. You did it with Abby too. And he look, Abby. I think he has the proof. Don't you have it? Do you have it? There it is. Look at it. There it is. There it is. Yeah. Let's set it out at least partially. Let's put it out here. So okay, I will tell you this story because it's Abby's story, but I'll tell it really quickly. He was so proud of this. It took him hours to print this, and he put it out in the hallway at night in front of George's office. This beautiful Spectrum. And the next day he comes in, and there's this big wad of paper in the trash can with this paper. You know, it looked like the Spectrum on it, and it was like you had thrown it away. But in fact, you'd saved the proper one and threw away the ones that they mixed up. That's the real one. And then there's this other story that I heard about from one of the emails that involved tear gas, a Sherpa that helped you take some stuff up 7 floors in a building. This is in Chile, and a memorable lunch.
That's Tarantino. Yeah.
So, yeah. And then of course there's the penguin. And that one only needs the 1 word. All right, so you can put some of those together. Of course, you can ask George.
Those are all funny memories. I do remember.
Okay, so I asked people to guess, and I know that you didn't have any data based on this on, but nonetheless, to guess how many times George has traveled to LCO or Chile, because really I expand that a little bit because, you know, some of these trips didn't involve going to LCO, but also CTIO to do the Schmidt observations. So the range of the guesses was 60, almost all the guesses was 60 to 130. Wow. So the average was 89 from the guesses. So this is a crowdsourced sort of estimate. There was an outlier. That was yours. There was an outlier, a guess, 1,000 times.
A lot of frequent flyer miles.
1,000 times. And this one I want to explore a little bit because that's kind of remarkable. So when I was here as a postdoc, I remember George, and I guess I did too, would go to Chile about 2 or 3 times a year. Kind of typical. So 1,000 times, you know, we're talking about George has been traveling, especially if we expanded to other observatories because, you know, Campanas hasn't been around that long, but to about 300 or 500 years, which made me start to think, really? Huh. Okay, so, you know, we've been giving George a lot of credit for a lot of things, but I think we may not have given him enough credit for all the things he's done. So, for example, the lore is that this person, Williamina Fleming is how I had known her at Harvard, had discovered our lights. Did you know that?
Yeah.
You probably know that. Who did everybody know that? Actually, it was new to me. I didn't realize this till the other day. Anyway, she studied and discovered the periodic nature of our light. Well, here's a picture of her traveling across the ocean. Here she is there. She was born in Scotland and ended up in Harvard. And there, oh yeah, look, wow, there's some guy here. I think, because it's not the first time it happened, I think George gave her a tip. And she then took off. And as George normally would, he would not take credit for it. He just, it's hers. And I think you were there. So that made me think even further. And then I got to thinking, well, many of us should know about this person, John Goodricke, who in 1783 discovered the periodic nature of beta Ceph and also delta Cephei. Beta Ceph, I think was it. That's the.
This
Yeah.
is your,
Yeah, no, beta Ceph. But the main thing is delta Ceph because we're talking about pulsating stars in 1783. He's a remarkable guy. So, and you notice he's got a book, this nice painting. He's got a book open. And wait a minute, he's pointing at something. Oh my God, there he is again. It looks like George was actually discovering the Cepheids in the 18th century. And you know where I'm going here on this. So in fact, Myra has been known to be a variable star for millennia. So in fact, yeah, George, there he is. So I think George is, you know, in many ways, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, you kind of like defined variable stars for me and their utility. So the actual number, and you sent it to me the other day,
Yeah.
which I believe to be accurate, okay, is 35 times for sure, which I guess you estimated it from the number of years or something like that. And then he has a fudge factor of 1.25, double runs or whatever, about 44 times. So less than everybody thought, less than I thought. And
Not all that much.
about 44 times. Now, I gotta say, one of the things, and this goes to a story of the first time you went to Chile with Shaq, where he forced you to go. He made sure that you would go. He flew all the way from Boston to here to make sure that you would get on the plane to go. And there you are. You're tall. You're big. I think you were saying this as, boy, am I having a good time during that trip. But in fact, I'm quite sure that by the 44th trip, you really were having a good time.
Shek and I were traveling from from Santiago to La Serena on a bus after having stayed up all night in the bus station waiting for the bus because our airplane ticket was canceled. Is that right?
Something like
So
that.
there were no airplanes in those
It was just a bus.
Originally, we went up to the bus station and gave us the ticket, on which you no doubt got the kickback.
Anyway, halfway up, halfway from Santiago to La Serena, I had to go to the toilet. And we were on a bus filled with people. There were chickens and goats and people traveling from one town to another. And I had to go to the toilet, and the only place there was a toilet was near the rear exit through a little tiny door inside of a tiny compartment that I couldn't fit into. And I got in there and sat down, but I couldn't close the door. And that's where I said, boy, am I having a good time.
But as I say, I think you started to have a very good time as you went down to Chile. And I will tell you that Campanas also felt the same way. And in fact, you became an icon there in the dining room, which is now a little bit bigger than this picture shows. But that arrow is pointing to 2 pictures by Herman Olivares, who his drawings, and one of them features you. You can see that. There's George on the over here, kind of cramped in there, because really Chile is not fully set up for somebody. This is to explain the joke. George Preston is about 6.5 feet tall, but this was written by, drawn by Herman, and you reciprocated, and Herman showed this in another cartoon that's on the walls in the dining room. It just shows the cartoon. It's windy at Las Campanas, so this observer is asking about the wind. But right here at the bottom, you've added your comment. During the 4 decades, Herman Olivares has used his gentle, penetrating humor to depict the fun and little disasters of a wonderful mountaintop observatory. Your quote, it's on the wall there. And I got to see Edmund the other day, about a week and a half ago. I'd missed their retirement. Nobody told me it was in December, and I didn't know until January, so I kind of pissed off. And so I got together with him and Hector. He brought empanadas, it was good, and Oscar. And Edmund gave me something for you. Right here. A drawing that, well, you probably know what this says here, but it says here at the bottom, for George Preston, my idol, with much affection.
Oh,
Edmund
isn't that
Olivares.
nice? Thank you
So
much.
I'll take it back, but if you just want to take a
No,
look at it.
you can't take
No,
it
I'll
back.
take it back so you don't have to hold it on your
Okay.
lap.
You can't have it.
No, it's yours. It's yours. So Edmund, everybody sent their well wishes. Okay, so now let's get into this touchy subject, and that is the one about bets. Let me get this ready here. So describe a bet you've had with George, and how many did you win? Did George ever pay up? And the responses were I got a few, but they were kind of hazy at times, except for one person, George, who said, I won them all. I never had to pay. Well, George, now we've got you, because as it turns out, there's archaeological evidence here. And got it from a few people. First of all, there was a sworn deposition by, where's Andy? Where are you? Yeah, a sworn deposition that, I think, was it $1 or $5? Well, anyway, you paid it back in quarters. I'm surprised you didn't do it in pennies, but nonetheless, so you did lose one there, according to that sworn statement. But even more damaging is the archaeological evidence, and I've got this some of it right here. So this one says, usually the subject of the bet is on the outside. This one says, George Preston believes there will be no refereed astronomical journals in existence after March 27th, 2017. Ian Thompson believes otherwise. You lost, George. So what is you get yours back. We don't even have to open this one. I don't know how much it is. There is something, sorry.
Mario, here.
Oh, there he is, there he is. Yeah, you got it. It's yours.
No, read the bottom. There's an admission from George.
Signed, George. No, it doesn't say it. It just says your signature.
Oh.
Yeah, no, he never admitted. We got him today. This is the first time. So this is it. Okay, now there's a couple of other types of things in here. Like this one, I can't even read. Do you have any idea what that is? Can't even see it. Something about Keck and 1 arc-second images.
Well, it's written inside.
It's just got $2, and don't touch it. If you don't know what the bid is, I'll take it.
I have no idea.
Okay, well, so this one's sort of unclear. There's another one here that says amount $1 each, no money attached to this one. SAO will be transferred out of Smithsonian Institution by January 1st, 2007. You won this one. So Sheck said yes. No, you got to talk to him because there's no money associated with it. But you got that one. So that one's yours. Now here's one that we just can't do yet. It hasn't been done yet. It's got the money in there. GMT will be built with NSF money. Yes, says George Preston. No, says Steve Sheckman. I think we're getting to the point where it's going to be decided soon, but it's not decided yet. So that one I can't give away. So this one, that is $20, folks. So this is you were serious about this bet, and yet I have no idea really what it is. So what was it again?
It has to do with Alan Fox was flying any planet using the
Oh, yes.
astrometric method.
I think, I mean, there might be some experts here, but I think Steve won this one. What do you say, George?
I think you should have a vote.
Well, for now, I'll leave it here. Now, here's one that you did with Andy that says something, says FE over H in sculptor, Preston versus McWilliams. It's sealed.
Well, open it.
No, I don't need to.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why. I believe Andy has conceded that he probably lost it, but we haven't read inside. But it really doesn't matter. You put in a $5 bill here. This was done. When was this done? How many years ago? Yeah, a long time ago. He put in a $5 check. The bank and the account don't even exist anymore. Here, you can have it. That guy is very smart. He tried to get me to tell him I lent him some money when I was an undergraduate at Rice years ago. So he's pretty. You got to watch him. All right. So the archaeological evidence does not support your claim, George. But anyway, it's close enough. All right. So what's George's favorite type of star? And I felt bad about this because I got this from Howard Bond, and I got this from George. But wait a minute. I was feeling bad about this, and then Horace gave his talk yesterday, and George, wait a minute. You actually have gone through cycles on this. I mean, here are the R. Lyries. There was a time here you were estranged from the R. Lyries, and then it went back up. So maybe now I can see it's your favorite, but I don't think they've always been your favorite, or have they? And you were just.
Well, I gave you the name of the star.
You did. I'll get to the individual star, but this is the type of star.
Yeah. Well, times they are changing.
Okay. So anyway, Horace, I like this plot from Horace because of that. And as you recall, Horace thought it was periodic, but I don't quite see that. But he's more. But at least it shows that you might be a little bit more fickle than you implied. So anyway, I also asked what's George's favorite star. People had a lot of ideas, but George really is the definitive. I think, did I drop a number on the number? Anyway, it's an HD something similar to that one, that number, and it's a magnetic. You see, it's not even an R. Lyrie. So it really made me think that, wait a minute, it's not so obvious that they're your favorite star. But I think for the purposes of this meeting, the R. Lyries are your favorite star. So anyway, we didn't make a bet, but if we had, you'd be paying up. So anyway, okay. So I also asked this question about submit a haiku or Well, haiku is all I said, but a couple of people said, oh, a limerick is way more appropriate for George, but they didn't supply a limerick. So that was not, come on. So anyway, I tried. Let me see how this is look. There it is. When GWP started to study variable stars, many suspected he would go far. Now that we are here, it certainly appears he's helped reveal how RRs are truly bizarre. Okay, oh, sorry, that's my best. Oh, we did get a few haikus. Garrigate, I like this one. Breathing mountain air, light split into distinct parts, smelling distant stars. Kind of like that. Like haiku, it's kind of means something, but what? I don't know. You submitted this one. This is authentic. Is this actually haiku? Is it really? Okay. So because you did the translation, so it's no longer haiku in English, but it was in Japanese. Okay, variables shine through the clouds on a windy day, kind of like that.
Oh, goodness, thank you.
And this just shows I have a new career, maybe, or as a bad poet. Anyway, pulsating stars wink, animating the dark sky to whisper secrets. And I always think of you, and I think of you a lot when I'm observing. It's just the way you observe, the way you respect the whole process.
So much fun.
Okay, so anyway, here's what lessons have you learned that help you in your professional life? So a lot of answers to that. I'm just picking a few, but these are two people who couldn't make it, but who had very lengthy and really heartfelt responses to this. But Anne, to sort of summarize, just loved the way that you were excited about what you were doing. Early in her career, we're talking about back in the 60s, when she was getting started. You really gave her that example. You may remember that you provided Sydney with data during a period of time when she couldn't get any because she was in Hawaii and the telescope wasn't available. So she still remembers that, still appreciates that, and tries to emulate that in her career. And Horace said you once told him, get more data. You always need more and more data because a bunch of bad data doesn't help. And I kind of got that message from you too many times. Andy, I thought this was great that you two interact and talk to each other, and you're both willing to admit when you just don't understand something, work it out, think about it, and the discussions lead to new ideas or better understanding. The way we should, and in fact, the way I think we've been able to do in this very nice intimate meeting here. Steve said it's not exactly a lesson, but what he really respects and takes from you, among many other things, is just your lack of any sort of pretentiousness. That you're doing it because you love it. You're not doing it because you're status or anything like that. You do it because you truly love what you do. And then Howard Bond says, I learned how to tell a joke well. Abhi said the best thing you taught him in life in general now is the art of folding planes. Are you good at this now? Is he good at that? You're pretty good. You're pretty good at that. You never taught me. Oh, anyway, all right. And then Ian pointed out, this is more of an observation. I'd say this, it's not clear what the lesson, there is a lesson here, I think, but it's not sure what it is. George is the only person who can consume a brick of cheddar cheese by alternately licking and salting it. I have observed that behavior. And it's kind of, well, anyway. So, but Ian, thank you for that observation, yeah. And then Ian, the other Ian Thompson, mentioned this, which I think too has a lesson in it. And this was some sort of exchange you had with the night assistant at the 100-inch. The fogs are rising. No answer from you. We're reaching the point of danger. Quiet. Crickets.
We're in the fog.
We're in the fog. Keeps guiding. The door starts to close. The lesson here, I think, is just keep running right through the tape. Don't stop. Don't slow down. You've kept running. You're an inspiration how you keep running. So it's wonderful.
That's good.
Although the night assistant here might have been a little irked. Anyway, I want to say thanks to everybody. That's Beverly, Gina, Chris, Charlie, Scott, Greg. I hope I didn't miss anybody except I'll get to you, Andy. So thank you very much. I don't know how many are here. let me also thank you all. I also want to thank all the attendees. Really nice talks. I think it was a very nice atmosphere. People could interact well. Good discussions outside. So thank you, everybody who gave a talk. Thank you, everybody who participated in the discussions. Thank you, everybody who listened. Thank you, everybody online, if you're listening now. So wonderful to have everyone. And finally, of course, thank you very much, Andy, for your persistent effort. Fantastic. So yeah, he just does not let go once he gets going on something. And then, of course, last but not least, thank you, George.
Very much. Thank you.
I think we wouldn't be here in many ways, both practice and figuratively and literally, without you. I mean, I really don't think we'd be where we are scientifically as a field without you. Right? Maybe you've had such an impact on us. You're a great scientist. I mean, a really great scientist. Curiosity, the drive, the enthusiasm. It's what you want to be. You're a great mentor. I've taken this from you as much as anything. I know I failed completely, but I think of you, I try to be, at least in a small way, like you. And you're a great friend.
I'm speechless. Thank you.
So George, we really do love you. And we are looking, I'm all in for what Ian was saying. I'm ready for the 110th, but I cannot wait for the 100th. We'll see you then.
Okay.
But I'm not done, not quite done, because I know that you asked for equal time, except there's going to be much less than equal time. So with all due respect, and in the most dignified way I can, I'd like to, did I lose it? Oh, no. Anyway, I'd like to pass this on as a rebuttal time for you. Oh, I got rid of the last slide. All right, anyway, but it's your call now. So
well,
All yours.
I don't know if people can hear me from here or not.
Here.
you want to
Well, look, wait a minute.